What do you get when you mix an unhinged ex-con, his bumbling brother, and an ice cream truck full of secrets? A recipe for one of Tales from the Crypt's wildest rides. In People Who Live in Brass Hearses, Bill Paxton and Brad Dourif take sibling rivalry to deadly new heights in a story packed with greed, revenge, and a twist colder than a frozen treat. But beware, in this chilling tale, the real surprises aren't just inside the freezer, they're in the brothers' unraveling bond. Get ready to dig in, because this is one heist that'll leave you shivering cold. Through its characters and their desperate, self-serving actions, the episode becomes a modern parable that aligns closely with Thomas Hobbes' theory of human behavior, particularly his ideas of the state of nature and psychological egoism. In Hobbes' view, humans are fundamentally driven by self-interest. This psychological egoism posits that all actions, even those that appear altruistic, are ultimately motivated by personal gain. Billy DeLuca, the episode's central character, epitomizes this principle. Freshly released from prison, Billy's every decision revolves around his desire for revenge and wealth. His grudge against Mr. Bird, his former employer, is not merely about lost dignity, but about the perceived threat of his opportunities and status. Billy's brother Virgil, though less overtly aggressive, also acts in accordance with self-interest. His loyalty to Billy stems not from genuine moral commitment, but from dependency and fear. Virgil's submissiveness can be interpreted as an attempt to preserve his own safety in the face of his brother's volatile temper. Together, the brothers form a microcosm of Hobbes' state of nature, a world where individuals prioritize survival and dominance over cooperation and trust. Hobbes famously argued that in the absence of societal structure and laws, human life would devolve into a state of nature, characterized by a perpetual state of conflict and mistrust. In People Who Live in Brass Hearses, the lack of trust between characters underscores this Hobbesian principle. Billy and Virgil, despite being brothers, share a tenuous and distrustful relationship. Billy's constant belittling of Virgil highlights a hierarchy where one dominates and the other submits, mirroring the power struggles Hobbes described as inevitable in the state of nature. This mistrust extends to their interactions with Mr. Bird. The brothers' scheme to rob him is predicted on the assumption that he is vulnerable and isolated, yet they underestimate his cunning. Mr. Bird's surprising ruthlessness reinforces Hobbes' notion that in the state of nature, even seemingly innocuous individuals are capable of brutal self-preservation when threatened. Hobbes argued that a powerful sovereign is necessary to impose order and prevent the chaos of the state of nature. In this episode, the absence of any authority figure allows chaos to flourish. There are no external forces, legal, moral, or social, to check the character's behavior. Billy and Virgil's plan spirals out of control because they operate in a moral vacuum, where personal ambition overrides any sense of accountability. Mr. Bird, while initially appearing to be a victim, ultimately demonstrates the same capacity for ruthless self-interest as the DeLuca brothers. His actions, killing the brothers and disposing of their bodies in the most grotesque manner imaginable, highlights the extremes to which individuals will go when unrestrained by societal norms. The episode's grim conclusion underscores Hobbes' assertion that life without governance is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short. Hobbes' description of the state of nature includes the idea that individuals are locked in a constant struggle for power. This zero-sum dynamic is evident in the interactions between Billy, Virgil, and Mr. Bird. Billy's aggressive pursuit of revenge and wealth reflects his desire to reclaim power he feels was unjustly taken from him. His actions are not driven by necessity, but by an insatiable appetite for dominance. Virgil, on the other hand, seeks power in a more passive way, through allegiance to Billy. His willingness to participate in the heist stems from a fear of being left behind or overpowered by his brother's domineering personality. Mr. Bird, initially perceived as weak, ultimately asserts his dominance in the most shocking manner, turning the power dynamic on its head. These shifting power dynamics encapsulate the Hobbesian belief that life is a constant battle for supremacy. Hobbes identified greed and ambition as primary drivers of human conflict. In People Who Live in Brass Hearses, Billy's obsessive desire for revenge against Mr. Bird is emblematic of these traits. His fixation blinds him to the potential consequences of his actions, leading to his downfall. Virgil's participation, though reluctant, highlights how greed can corrupt even those with initially benign intentions. The episode's climax, in which Mr. Bird turns the tables on the brothers, serves as a grim commentary on the futility of greed and revenge. While Billy and Virgil view the heist as a means of securing their future, their greed ultimately ensures their destruction. This aligns with Hobbes' assertion that unrestrained desire inevitably leads to conflict and misery. In Hobbesian philosophy, the state of nature is devoid of morality. Actions are neither inherently good nor evil, but are judged based on their outcomes. This moral ambiguity permeates the episode. While Billy and Virgil are clearly flawed, their plight evokes a degree of sympathy. Their desperation and fractured relationship reflects systemic failures such as poverty and lack of support that leave them with very few options. Similarly, Mr. Bird's transformation from victim to perpetrator complicates the moral narrative. His actions, while shocking, can be interpreted as a form of self-defense in a world where trust and cooperation are non-existent. This ambiguity forces viewers to confront the uncomfortable reality of Hobbes' state of nature, a world where survival often necessitates morally questionable decisions. This episode can be viewed as a modern-day parable, illustrating the dangers of unchecked self-interest. Each character's actions are driven by personal gain, and their inability to trust or cooperate leads to their mutual destruction. This grotesque imagery of the brothers' remains being turned into ice cream serves as a darkly humorous metaphor for the ultimate futility of their endeavors. People Who Live in Brass Hearses references the proverb, "People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones," and it underscores the fragility of the characters' schemes. Like glass, their plans are easily shattered by the harsh realities of their environment. This aligns with Hobbes' belief that life without order is inherently precarious. The sun sets on a world that never cared for justice. In the flickering neon light of the ice cream truck, dreams of revenge, ambition, and power dissolve into sticky pools on the asphalt, leaving behind only the taste of futility. Billy's gritted determination, Virgil's timid loyalty, and Bird's cold cunning, all swallowed by the void where morality held no purchase. It's a world where the strong devour the weak, and even the strong can't escape their own appetites. Because in the end, there are no victors, just empty promises churned into grotesque desserts, served up with a cruel smile. The road stretches endlessly into the shadows, where another scheme, another betrayal, waits to begin. Perhaps the only truth lies in the silence that follows a whisper, a rattle, and then nothing. Watch this video next.